I once spent 40 minutes explaining a project to an AI. Every detail, every constraint. It was going brilliantly. Then I asked it one more question, and it asked me what the project was. Not rudely, cheerfully, as though we'd just met, and I hadn't spent most of an hour describing my life to it. That's what this is about. Not AI being forgetful. AI has no memory to be forgetful with, something considerably stranger than that. If you've used AI for anything longer than a quick question, you've hit this. The conversation that starts sharp and slowly goes vague. It contradicts something it said earlier. It forgets an instruction you gave twice. It starts padding. It gets weirdly formal. All of that is one mechanism, and once you can see it, you stop finding it mysterious and you can work around it in about 3 seconds. This is AI Oblivious, where I worked this stuff out roughly 3 years after everyone else. Subscribing is free and requires no skill whatsoever. There's a like button too. I'm told it helps. Right, why AI forgets. Start with the thing that surprised me most. An AI does not remember your conversation. Not badly. At all. There's no file somewhere with your chat in it that it's consulting. Between one message and the next, it retains precisely nothing. So how does it answer follow-up questions? Because every single time you press send, the entire conversation gets sent again. All of it. Your first message, its first reply, everything since, and your new question stuck on the end. It reads the lot from scratch every time. It isn't remembering the conversation. It's rereading it very fast, as though for the first time, which is a bit like a colleague who has to reread the whole email chain before every reply. Diligent, slightly unsettling. Here's where AI runs into a wall. There's a limit to how much it can be handed at once. That limit is called the context window. Think of it as a frame that can only hold so much. Everything inside the frame it can see. Everything outside it may as well not exist. And the frame is measured in tokens, those chunks from the first video. Roughly, a token is about 3/4 of a word. So as the conversation grows, it fills up. And when it's full, something has to give. What gives is the oldest part. The frame slides forward, the beginning falls off the back, and nothing announces that it happened. Which is exactly why I asked what my project was. I hadn't stopped telling it. It had stopped being able to see me telling it. Reasonable question at this point, how big is the frame? It depends entirely on which AI you're using, and it has grown absurdly fast. A few years ago you got a couple of thousand tokens, call it 3 or 4 pages. Today the bigger ones will take hundreds of thousands. Some claim 1 million, which is somewhere north of a couple of novels. So you'd think that solves it. It doesn't, and the reason why is the interesting part. A bigger frame changes when things fall off the back. It doesn't change the diluting. Which is why people with enormous context windows still complain that AI stopped following instructions. The instruction is still in there. It's just drowning. But there's a stage before that, and it's the one that actually catches people out. Long before anything falls out of the window, quality starts sliding. Remember what AI is doing. Every word it writes is chosen with the whole conversation in view. Every word competes for attention against everything else in the frame. When the frame holds 4 sentences, your instruction is competing with 4 sentences. When it holds 400, it's competing with 400. The instruction hasn't gone anywhere. It's just been diluted. Which is why the thing you said once, 40 messages ago, quietly stops mattering, while the thing you said in the last message gets followed precisely. It's not ignoring you. It's weighing you against an enormous pile of other stuff, most of which is also you. So why not make the frame infinite and be done with it? 2 reasons, and the second one is the surprising one. First, cost. Every token in the frame gets compared against every other token. That's the attention thing from the first video. Double the conversation, and you rather more than double the work. Which is why long chats feel slower and, if you're paying per use, cost noticeably more. You're not being charged for the answer, you're being charged for the rereading. Second, and this genuinely surprised me, AI is measurably worse at finding things buried in the middle of a very long context than at either end. Start and end get attended to well. The middle sags. Researchers actually call this lost in the middle. Which means the most reliable places to put something important are the very beginning and the very end. Mostly the end. So a bigger frame isn't only expensive, it can also be less reliable in the part you can't see going wrong. That one mechanism explains almost every complaint people have about long chats. It contradicts itself. The earlier statement is outside the frame, or so diluted it may as well be. It forgets a rule you set, same thing. Rules given early are the first to fade. It gets vaguer and more padded when the specifics have thinned out. Generic text is the safest prediction. And it gets slower and more expensive because it's genuinely rereading a bigger pile every single time. 4 different complaints, 1 cause. Which is why none of the usual advice helps. Being more polite doesn't help. Saying please remember doesn't help. Getting cross with it definitely doesn't help. The only things that work are the ones that change what's in the frame. So, what to actually do? And the main one takes about 3 seconds. Start a new chat. Genuinely, most people treat one long conversation as tidy, and it's the single biggest cause of AI getting worse. A fresh chat is an empty frame. Paste in the 4 lines that actually matter, and you've got its full attention again. And you lose nothing by doing it, because, as we've established, there was nothing being kept anyway. I think the instinct to keep one long thread going is basically politeness. We behave as though starting again would be rude to it. Second, restate the important thing, late. If something must not be forgotten, say it again near the end. Recent beats early, every time. It feels rude, like repeating yourself to someone who was already listening. Nothing was listening. Say it twice. Third, put the long thing in a file rather than the chat, if you can. Attached documents are handled more cleverly than 40 messages of you explaining the same document. And one to stop doing. Don't ask it to remember something. It can't. Saying, remember this, just adds another message to the pile competing with everything else. Some tools do have real memory features now, and those genuinely work, but that's a feature bolted on beside the model, not the model remembering. It works by quietly writing things down somewhere else and pasting them back into the frame later, which is exactly what you do. It's a notepad, not a memory. Worth knowing, because it means the same limits apply. Anything it has noted down is taking up room in the frame like everything else. So AI has no memory. Every message resends the whole conversation. There's a limit to what fits. The old stuff falls off the back, and the middle gets diluted long before that. Which means a long chat isn't a relationship you're building, it's a pile you're making heavier. And every message you add makes every future answer slightly worse, slower, and, if you're paying, slightly dearer. And I find that genuinely freeing because it means starting again costs you nothing. There's nothing to lose. It was never keeping any of it. The version of me that spent 40 minutes explaining a project should have spent 4 in a new chat twice. Next time I'm putting the theory down for a bit and actually clearing the pile of admin I've been avoiding for about 2 years. On camera! Badly.